and welcome to, I don't know, I feel like I want to put the Lady Sale podcast up because I haven't done a Lady Sale podcast in like forever. Oh, wait. No, I'm going to be professional first. My name is Wilnona. So I'm going to go and welcome to the Woman's Cave because, yeah, it's going to be a woman's cave. Excuse me, my lunch that I did not have is coming back to talk to me. Anyway, this will be the point where I did a little bit of banter, but I am missing the wonderful and beautiful Jade, so I cannot really do banter, which is kind of sad, but you know what it does mean, you guys? It means that I can say all the things that she never lets me say. So there'll be no one squeezing your hand under the table. Don't you do that. Don't put your finger up in the middle. It's going to be lovely. Sit back, relax, watch, wait, and enjoy the wonderfulness of Winona since I am the narcissist of the group. But anyway, enough banter from me. Let's talk about the books that we actually have. We wrote books, you guys. Literary life guides with pop poetry. Yeah, that is how you say that. Literary life guides. Yep, that's it. That's good. I don't normally say what State normally does. So we have And I Thought Divorce Was Bad, which is the only one up on the set today. And then And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy, which are both audiobooks. Check them out at audible.com. We have our number one literary anthology, which we hate to say literary anthology, they're life guides. But that was number one, and it's The Women's Cave with pop poems. And then our last one that she likes to talk about is And I Thought I Did My Journey Alone. Side note, because it's me here today, so I can do side notes about myself. I just finished my first romance book, and it took me 8 years, but it is done.
Nice.
And anyway, oh, there I go again with my lovely anyway. It's my little pet peeve today. We have a co-host, which means our guest is important. Well, all our guests are important. Yes, will you introduce yourself, although I just did it for you?
I am Tanya Todd, author and actress from Las Vegas. I'm the education chair for Henderson Writers Group, and I am the new hostess for a brand new podcast, the 52 Love Podcast. And you just went on about introducing yourself, and I just realized I don't even know if I did. I had my first episode yesterday, and I don't remember if I introduced myself.
It was so fun. Oh my goodness. If you are watching this and you haven't listened to all of our stuff, first listen to all of our stuff. And then after that, go listen to Miss Tanya Todd's podcast, the 52
Love Podcast.
There you go.
It's one intimacy tip per week.
So now that our guest has turned her head, I'm going to go ahead and say, would you like to introduce yourself? Just catch you off guard. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, hello. I'm Susie Singer Carter. I'm a filmmaker and a lot of other things. I'm a mother and a daughter and a sister and a friend. And that's who I am.
I love
that. You embody all things woman, huh?
I haven't had anyone say, and a friend. Oh my goodness. I feel like she's my friend now. And yeah. I don't really know you that well. So.
I kind of felt like that before we started, though. She's just so easy. Like, just so easy to speak to and just, have a conversation with. It took us forever to get started with this interview just because we were already conversing.
We're chatting about hair like you do, because hair is a very important conversation.
Right. We were talking about hair like old girlfriends.
Right. That's right. And it's bonding. It's a very bonding experience. We get it. We feel each other. Right, ladies?
Oh,
very much.
I'm going to be asking a question right now, which I'm going to do. But since I am the narcissist in the room, I'm going to say one thing about me, and then I'm going to ask the question. No one minds, right? Okay, good. Anyway, so I was going to say about the hair thing. I remember we wrote a poem actually in this book. I wrote a poem in this book about the hair wars, and I turned it into a male professor. And the male professor goes, "Who writes a whole 2-page poem about hair? It's not that important." And I'm like, "See, this is how we know you're a guy." Mm-hmm. Anyway, my actual.
That's why you don't have any, right?
Oh no, he's actually balding. That's funny. But my actual question was going to be like, so you have actually taken on many roles, like one of them being screenwriter and then filmmaker. How have those two roles informed each other, I guess you could say? Mm-hmm. Is it from the screenwriting to filmmaking, or the filmmaking has informed your screenwriting?
Well, maybe a little bit of both. But really, I started out as an actress, like a lot of us do, and I got into writing because I when I would get roles, a lot of Bambis and those kinds of characters, which I was fine, and didn't mind booking them, but I realized that a lot of the material wasn't as good as I thought I could write. So I thought I'm going to start writing, and really as a vehicle for myself. And then I realized I really enjoy storytelling, and I really enjoy realizing the whole project. So I don't think I've ever been just a writer or just a producer. I think, it's always been seeing the whole picture and where I wanted it to end up. And in fact, I didn't really staff as a writer for another creator till well into my career, and I've only done it twice, and it's not my favorite situation. It just isn't, because you're kind of you're shoved into this family of people that you may or may not get along with, and it has been for a very long time male dominated, and that was my experience, and it wasn't pleasant. So so that, but I think as far as being a filmmaker, I guess my writing did bring me into it, because through an executive producer's director who liked my writing, brought me in, and I begged and pleaded, and that's how I got my first show running project for children, which was right behind me. That's Cake in the middle, the poster. And that was in my CBS Saturday morning first show that I ran. So, and that was really the best lesson of all, because it was CBS. It was very little money, believe it or not, because they don't really allot a lot of money to Saturday morning, and because most of their money is made on merchandise and after sales. So learned how to do high quality on a low budget. Thank you, Sean McNamara, for teaching me that, from Brooklow McNamara. So, and then he hired me to come and help on a project that he was directing called Bratz, the movie. And that's the story, if you want to know about getting your first feature film. I think it's a really fun story, but that's how I really gleaned my filmmaking, by being able to be on as a producer and then as the writer. So
Ultimately, you're a storyteller, and all those different hats kind of inform that together, whether you're producing or writing it or just bringing it to life.
I think so. I think so. And I think, there's, I hate this word because it sounds fancy or it's self-serving, but an auteur is like, I really do identify with that, because
Mhm.
and it's not that I do love collaborating, but I also have really strong vision. So from the art direction to wardrobe to, casting, everything. I feel like if it's my project, I want to be a part of every aspect of it. Whereas some writers don't. They're happy to write and pass it on. And that's all.
Oh, I
That's
see. Yeah,
valid.
that's not me.
I mean, it's valid. It's definitely valid, but it's not me either. And I think that's a difference between writers. There's writers that are strictly writers, and then there's writers that are auteurs. And that's,
If you're open to it, you did mention Bratz. Do you want to share the story of your Bratz experience?
I would love to, because if this is mostly for writers and that's who we're talking to, it's a great example of how you never know where things are going to come from, and how to also be resilient at the same time. So when I was hired for Bratz to be an associate producer, I came on because the director, Sean McNamara, was like, I just got hired to direct this film. I don't even know what it's on, based on these dolls called the Bratz. And I said, and I had two daughters. And I was like, oh my God, you don't even know. Like, I dress like the Bratz. Sean, I'm me.
Ew.
It's me. Have you seen my shoes? So I got hired, and Avi Arad, who is he's an executive producer from the Marvel world. Like, he kind of is, he's given credit for bringing Marvel back to life. And but this was his pet project, because he and the owners of MGA, Isaac Larian, who they're all from Israel, and they all sort of grew up in the business together. So he took on this pet project, and we were at we were doing callbacks, the final callbacks for our 4 leads, and Avi, who is famous for not holding his tongue ever, And the girls, each one, every time one of the girls would leave the room, he'd go, God damn it, they're terrible. Who brought this shit into the room? I
Wow.
hate them all. I was like, and I would turn to Sean, who's being an actress, and I said, they're not horrible. They're not. I said, it's the material. It's not giving them enough to do. So I said, and I just said, do you want me to write maybe like a lighter comical scene and then maybe a little bit more emotional, sensitive scene for the next callbacks? And he said, do you want to? And I said, of course. So I did. And they can't. So when we had the next callbacks, the rounds, same girls, and Avi was like, this is what, who wrote this good stuff? This is awesome. Fire. And then so Sean said, Susie did. And he said, fire that other bitch, she's hired.
Ouch.
Yeah. But that's how I got into the union. That's how I got, I mean, it was my first screenplay, and it was a page 1 rewrite. So the cautionary tale is, though, I didn't know how cutthroat the business is. So I literally was a page 1 rewrite, and I was a brand new WGA Writers Guild member. And I had a manager at the time, and the movie was being released. My name was on the poster, which is right there. My name is on that poster. I was going to, like, you know how you do with your mom. I'm standing in front of the poster in Century City, right? And lo and behold, it goes into what's called arbitration. And as writers, if you know, it's, you know, the screen credits are very, very regimented by the WGA. It's something that I'm passionate about changing, because it's a really antiquated process that they do. So anybody who's written on a project at any stage can call the credits into contention. And the woman that was fired right before me, and honest, I joke about it, but she really was phoning it in. And when I say phoning it in, literally phoning it in. She was on vacation in an island. They were waiting days to get pages. It was like and when she really hated the job. She just took it as a money job. She was, you know, very disgruntled about it and took it to arbitration. And I literally, like, this naive girl was like, how could I not win this arbitration? It's my project. I'm there.
Right, you wrote it.
I wrote it. I'm not only writing, I'm producing him on the set every single day. Avi was on tour, or on a press tour with Spider-Man at the time. And he was calling me from all over the world, change this line, let's do this, let's do that. I mean, everybody knew I was the writer, and my name was already on the poster. And Lionsgate, they already hired me to do a sequel. I thought, well, I lost a horrible it's a process I don't wish on anybody except for that woman before me, because it was
fair.
It was so devastating, because it to this day, like, it's, you know, it's been years, but it feels so unjust that, you know, that everybody can work on a project in any capacity and receive credit, you know, from every assistant, right, from somebody's dog, as a, you know, fun little anecdote. But I was denied any credit, including my associate producership, because I did an appeal, and both Avi and the director came to the appeal and said, you know, this girl is the heart and soul of our movie. She wrote every word. If you don't give her at least shared credit, this is a tragedy. And they didn't.
I cannot understand how they could decide that way.
It's antiquated. It's done by 3 supposedly anonymous readers who read all of the, you know, drafts, and they look at your outlines, and it's just so clear that my outline and everything was so brand new. And even if they would have given me shared credit, I would have accepted that.
Right.
But it was like, to push me out completely made no sense. But, you know, it was very political, and she brought in a lawyer, and I said, do I need a lawyer? No, you don't need a lawyer. You know, your work will speak for itself. But it doesn't speak for itself.
Is that the lesson here?
It doesn't speak for itself. as it stands now. But I'm on a, and I'm very active in the WGA, very active. But you know, it's one of my missions, and it's going to be extremely hard because it's so enmeshed and it's so old school and the old boys club, you know,
Mhm.
process. It makes no sense. I mean, you as an actress, you get it. Like even if you don't make the final cut, you still getting your credit.
Right.
You still, no one's saying, well, you know, you didn't make the cut, so you don't get the credit. No, you worked it. You deserve the credit. Anybody that contributes to a movie should receive credit.
Exactly.
You know, and there are many writers, as you guys know, many writers, you know, where it's like they'll bring in on, especially on big budgets, they'll bring on, you know, 15 writers. And, you know, and there's this, and then the little elite group get the credit. It's not fair.
And that's part of the deal that you have to sign into to even be in the room.
Yep. Yeah. Like I'll talk about Soul Surfer. That was a movie that I also was hired by Sean McNamara, who directed. They already had paid for 12 drafts of a script. He and 3 other writers were the writers as well on a couple drafts. And he said, Susie, I want to bring you on as a co-producer. And I also want you to take all these drafts and make it into the final shooting draft and make it so that the family approves it. And so, I mean, I did the final draft. I did our shooting draft, and I was there rewriting everything, like throughout the entire process. But I went in knowing that I wasn't going to get credit.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't like the rug was pulled out from under you.
Exactly. And, you know, we had other writers come on, Ron Bass, who wrote Rain Man, and one of my other guilty pleasures, My Best Friend's Wedding, which I just cry every time I watch it. But, you know, and he didn't take credit either. You know, he rewrote a couple scenes for some of the actors that just to, you know, politically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you know, it's very important to protect your work, and because we live on, our next job depends on what we just did.
Right.
And if we don't get that credit, I the fortunate thing for me is somehow, I don't know how or who propagated it, but in the trivia of, if you go on IMDb, in the trivia
I saw it.
and I was like, okay, thank you, universe, for at least vindicating.
Right. It is acknowledged.
Yes.
You know, the industry knows it's not something that's being swept under the carpet, but it sounds like it was a painful lesson, but some of the best lessons are learned through pain.
Yeah. And the
Let's skip those painful lessons. Just wanted to say it. Move on. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, you know, in terms of lessons, it's like, you know, anything we go through that's tragic or bad or horrible, you know, it's the best thing you can do about it is to pay it forward and to help other people to, you know, sidestep it.
And is that what you're trying to do with Go Girl Media?
Yeah. Yeah. And also, you know, with everything that I do, I want it to have some value, because life is short and we're on, you know, by the grace of God, we're got to get heavy, but we're here on, you know, we're leasing our space, as it were. And it's, you know, it's a precious thing, life. So I hope that, you know, whatever I do, if it's funny, if it's, you know, if it's silly kind of content, whatever it is, I want some value to it. I never want it just to be gratuitous, you know, and I want.
But you say whatever I do. It's funny because I feel like we could spend the entire show listing your achievements that you have already accomplished. Your website states it, your bio on your website states it far better than I could even attempt to, but you're one of the most accomplished people who somehow seems like you're just getting started. Like you haven't even come close to accomplishing all of your goals.
So Tanya, you nailed it on the head. It's just, I feel like I'm, what's his name, that pushes the rock up the hill, the myth. I always forget his name. Oh crap, never mind.
And I know who you're talking about too, and I'm blanking on it.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like I'm push the rock up to the top of the mountain. I get it up there, you know, like Wonder Woman. And then it rolls back down and I got to start over again. But every time I get right to the top and I'm there. So I resilience, I am like the poster child for resilience because, you know, it's my first book.
Sisyphus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like I'm not going to talk again until I have this thought.
Or like
Sorry to interrupt.
No, please, thank you. No, or Sisyphus, as my writing partner would say, because that's me. It's just, and I've had like on my birthday this year, we did
Yeah, that's your way to remember it, huh? Sisyphus.
yeah. And my boss would always say to me, he goes, it's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for you. And he's like, but God damn it, when? But it's like, but then you have to say, okay, well, not to try to justify where you're at, but you don't know when your time is, and you just don't know. You never know what's going to happen. And you just have to keep doing what you do. Can I just tell a quick little anecdote that I learned from another writer? That's one of my favorite things for writers. It's a story about this woman and her husband who this is in Hollywood, and they're both writers, and they're hanging out in their backyard reading on their lounge chairs like you do with the pool there, and two big trees on either side of their lawn. And across this tree she's looking is a spider web that's going from one tree to the other. And she says to her husband, how do they do that? Like, how does the spider make that web go from one tree to the other? Like, that's remarkable. I don't know. Google it, right? So she does. She Googles it. How does the spider, and first thing that comes up, how does a spider weave its web from one area to another? Well, they don't. They basically just weave their web, and then the wind takes it to wherever it's going to go. So all that to say is, like, you have to do what you do, and you can never control where it's going to go. You can put yourself in the best place, but then you have to let the wind take it.
Yeah. That's an amazing way to look at it. I mean, you have to do your part, you have to do your work, but where it lands, that's not in your power.
It's not in your power. You can try. You can set yourself up to get it there, and
right.
start at the right tree, as to be all
right.
And do the work of the weaving. I want to change the subject for a moment. You are also
Okay.
a filmmaker. We have chatted quite a lot about writing, but you're also a filmmaker and a showrunner. First question, what is a showrunner and what do they do? And then the second question is, can you tell us about how to be a successful filmmaker? Because that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Well, I am, success is that is subjective. Are we talking about financially successful with it, or
whatever success means to you?
You have a film and you made it. That's
yes.
That's hard.
That is true. So the first question was, wait, you said filmmaking. What was the other one? I'm sorry.
A showrunner. What does a showrunner do?
Okay. First, let me, I have to be very, I want to be very straightforward about that. There's showrunners that are primetime showrunners that like my first boss that I worked for. And then when I say I showran 2 shows for Saturday morning, which is, as far as Saturday morning children's shows, I'm the shit. But as far as primetime, I'm still, that is where I like to be as a creator, is showrunning, because showrunning is like being a filmmaker, because you are managing everything, every aspect of the production. So you are the head writer, but you're also the one that oversees all the hiring. You're also the one that oversees the scheduling and the budget, for sure. Like, it's all on you to deliver in the parameters that you're given. And so it really is it's another skill on top of writing. So, which I love it, because like you say, you're a narcissist. Well, I'm a control freak then, because I want to make sure that it comes out the best that I know it can. So if I have to defer to someone else, which not have the final say. That's so frustrating because I can see what I think it needs to be done. So that's why I like doing it, not because I'm not because I want to control at all, because I don't. I'm very collaborative, and I don't think there's never any contention on any set I run. I always feel like it should be friendly and open and fearless, and nobody makes mistakes because there is no mistakes to be made. Things happen and we just find the solution. And that's all I care about is the solution, so, and I care about people, and I care about the tribe that I'm working with. So I want it to be a happy experience. So that's why it's important to me to sort of be, that's why I like being at the helm, as it were. But I also need a lot of people around me because nobody can do it on their own.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of being a smart showrunner, is surrounding yourself with the right people to help you, put forth your vision in a collaborative way. You can't possibly handle all of the jobs that need to be done. But if you surround yourself with the right people, all of the jobs will get done.
It becomes haiku. It becomes very shortcut and lovely and so awesome when you're with your people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find your people, and you find your tribe that you jive with, and then everything is so easy. If you're not with your people, it becomes tragically difficult and frustrating and not a good experience, and it's surely a recipe for disaster and for a bad project. And I think that that it starts with like-minded people, and that makes a strong story.
So tell us about Go Girl Media, how it got started, and what your goals are with it, and then how you determine your projects.
Sure. So I started Go Girl Media after I left Sweet Lorraine Productions, which was Eric Van Lowe's company, which taught me everything I know. He's a fantastic writer. He's my mentor. And when I left that company, I said I learned a lot about what was acceptable in the marketplace, because I was excuse me, I was the director. I started as director of development, and then I was VP of development, and I kept pushing projects that were female, protagonist led, female led projects. And everywhere I went, it was like, it's too female, it's too female, it's too female. Even animated projects, even from we did a full season of a show called Pajama Rama with which was like The View for girls. And we were so ahead of our time. And it was like, it was so wonderful. They were all in their pajamas, and we had Raven Simone, we had Shia LaBeouf, we had, I forgot her name, the basketball player, can't think of her name, but we just had the greatest guests, and everybody had to come in their pajamas and talk about what it was like to go through, puberty and changes and your period and all that stuff. It was great, but it was too female. So I thought, okay, this is stupid because boys.
Oh no, you knew your target audience,
And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, why, they're this antiquated kind of frame of mind was that girls will watch boys content, but boys won't watch girl content, which was so narrow-minded and so wrong, and now we know there's a spectrum of gender anyway. So how are we identifying that as so black and white? And it's not. So that was my vision, was like, I'm going to try to champion projects that are female driven. And that, I also, as a female in the industry, there is still a lot of, there's a lot of pushback from other women. Like, you think it's just the men. No, it's not. There's a lot of pushback from other women. So this idea that women are supporting women is not always the case. And I would like it to be the case, because we have no competition. We're only stronger together. So, there's no reason to feel threatened or,
Right. There is room for all of us, and we are stronger together.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
And so that's something that I've been also trying to propagate, because, there's a lot of female filmmakers out there that are very successful and may say that they support women, but they don't. It's a platform to wave their flag or to be self-promoting, but they're not truly being that. And it's not to blame them entirely, because it's probably how they came up in the industry, was to protect their progress.
Right.
But we know, like you said, we're stronger together. We just are. That's why the boys are stronger together. That's why they hire each other. That's why it's like a no-brainer. It's like, dude, I'm doing this film. You want to come on board? Sure. All right, done. And that's the way it should be. And we're still, and as a female director, I'm attached to direct the last project that I was hired to write, which is an adaptation. And the first thing you hear is, well, it's going to be difficult because you're a new director. And I say, I am a new director, but I'm also a celebrated director. My film was Oscar qualified. I won so many awards as a director, as a first-time director. It's not a niche project. It's, really shows a range. How can you not see my skill? But boy, men, first-time directors as guys, they don't have to have half that.
Right.
And
They don't have to have all of the baggage of achievement to even be let into the room.
no, we have to prove ourselves so much. And it's
I'm guessing that's what led to your decision to join the Alliance of Women Directors.
yeah. Well, it's funny because, the reason why I joined that was I had been asked to come in and be a speaker before I ever directed. And they wanted to know about pitching, because I was working as an executive, and then I was pitching a lot of projects, and I had a lot of projects that were set up, but actually getting them on the air is that's a whole nother leap. So, but I went in to talk to them about pitching and giving them that kind of framework. And we had such a good time, and they liked me, and they just said, we'd love to invite you to be an honorary member. We know you're not directing, but we'd love to have you as part of it. And I was so honored. And so I was a member with them for, I want to say, like 6 years before I even thought of directing. I didn't even think I ever wanted to direct. And so, but I was on their steering committee, and I was bringing people in, for panels and yeah, I just love the ladies. They were with like this small group in the beginning, and now they've just blossomed into this amazing, just
Yeah. We
dynamic.
interview a lot of the ladies from, well, not a lot. We interview quite a few, a lot of our directors, like from the Alliance of Women Directors, and that seems to be an amazing organization. Dare I say, incubation place for beautiful storytellers.
100%, 100%. I
So,
mean, huh?
so what is it like going from the executive section to being feet on the ground on the set, doing everything?
In terms of, like what? That's
Is
a
it
big
different? Because you were saying before you were an executive at the production company, and you were in the writer's room, and now you're a filmmaker, so you are responsible for being on that set, making sure everything runs correctly.
right.
Is it an entirely different set of skills that you need to do these?
I think it is, but it's not what I never just did executive, because when I was working at Sweet Lorraine, I was creating projects and looking at, looking for things that I wanted to do and bring to the table. So I was constantly pushing things like Pajama Rama, or there was a project that we actually got, someone came to pitch it to me, and I fell in love with it. And it was called Alex, and it was about sort of like a Britney Spears type pop star who hated it and was making, and everyone wanted to quit because it wasn't her life. She wanted to be a real musician and not a commercial, right? And so we ended, my boss kept saying, every week we'd have our meetings, and I'd say, so let's talk about Alex. So this is what I want to do with it. He goes, we're not doing Alex. I think it's, We are doing, Alex. It's so good. But so like every week I had a new update, and I ended up setting it up with Madonna's company, Maverick. And it was their first TV series that they had committed to. They did a lot of features before that. And then we attached Marla Sokoloff, who at the time was off of a big series. I think it was LA Law. I can't even remember now, but she was adorable and really a musician. And then Melissa Rosenberg, who is now super famous writer, Twilight and Dexter and all, you name it, she's amazing. She was stuck in, I think, the associate producer level writer, and she loved the project, came on board and wrote it. It was her first, so it was her first big deal, and we got it set up at ABC, and then it eventually didn't go. But that was like, so when you say, is it different? I was so involved with it. Like, I was like, you couldn't have told me that I wasn't like the head producer, because I was
like you were already the showrunner of Alex. You were like, I'm good.
I'm good. I got it. Yeah. And yeah, like if you talk to my old boss, he will tell you, it's like, she was unstoppable and so frustrating, but I love her because I was like, so I I knew what I wanted to do. And I will say that it's easier to be on the executive side because.
So sorry.
What happened?
Remember, I adjusted my light before we started and it just slipped.
Oh no.
I thought it was a bug, that she was smacking a bug or something.
No.
Anyway, being on the executive side is a lot easier because you are in for the most part, a buyer situation, and you have, money and, leverage that way. And then being independent is much harder. You are constantly asking. You're in the asking seat, and that's always much harder to be in.
But it helps you see the full picture though when you pitch. I'm sure your pitches have developed a lot because you see both sides.
Mm-hmm.
It does help you see the full picture.
Say again.
It does help you like see the full picture when you're pitching, because like now when creatives pitch, they don't know what the executive is looking for, what kind of budget, that that sort of stuff, and
Yes.
and why they would make an overall decision, whereas you do because you were there before. And
Right.
You had to be the person to make that decision.
Right.
So I'm
And
assuming it is serious to your pitch.
Yeah, it does. It totally informs you. And, and then at the end of the day, though, it's people. And if someone doesn't jive with your project or you, there's nothing you can do. And that's the biggest lesson, is that you just have to move on down the road, because there's always another door to walk into. And just like the three of us have different taste, that's good. That's good.
Right. That is a very important lesson, that there is always another door, because when you get rejected or turned away, someone passes on your project, it feels like it's the end of the world and I'm never going to do anything. I should quit everything. Exactly. No, that was one door, and the doors are infinite.
The doors are infinite.
If you run out, you can make your own. You can try anyway.
Right, and that's what you've done. I mean, you've been an excellent example of that. Tell me I can't. That's your motto, man. Tell me I can't. Watch me.
Exactly. And I think you're right. It's like doing your own thing, like I did with My Mom and the Girl, that film that I just did 2 years ago, and it was something I was like, oh, do people really need another project about Alzheimer's? But I knew the story was so lovely and funny and poignant, and it was such a good lesson about other doors opening when other doors shut, and that there's always joy to lean into. And I wanted to make a joyous look at a notoriously unjoyous, if that's a word.
So it feels like we have to wrap up right now, but I have two.
About to say that.
Okay, well, I have two really quick questions. One, what is bringing you joy right now? And what are your creative goals for the next year?
Okay. And I also have to wrap up. So what is bringing me joy right now is I'm working on a podcast that I'm producing it's based on an IP that I developed called I Love Lucifer. So it's a rom-com mon, which is a romantic monster comedy. And it's a two-hander, female-led, really fun project. And we decided during COVID, let's just produce it as a podcast. So we just finished recording our fourth. We took the screenplay and broke it into episodes. We're so lucky, have a phenomenal cast. Adam Levy from The Witcher and so many beautiful movies. He plays our narrator, and just, it's so much fun. I'm having such a blast. So that's been fun. And then trying to set up Plain Jane, which is the adaptation that I finished, and now I'm attached to direct. So we're working on that, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's it.
Okay, last question is, where can people find out more information about the projects that you have done, about you, and the projects that you will be doing?
You can go to my website, which is gogirlmedia.com, or I'm on every bit of social media, which is like such a pain in the butt, but I'm there. I'm on Instagram, Susie Singer Carter, at Susie Singer Carter, at Go Girl Media, at Love Conquers All, which is my other podcast. And you'll find me. I'm everywhere. So yeah, and if I'm always open to helping out people, and if you need some help, ask, because if I need to help, I'm going to ask too. So.
All right. So we are she's wrapped up. So I think it's time for us to wrap up. And this interview has been 4 times longer than any of our other interviews.
Sorry.
Tanya.
No, you're fascinating.
Yes. Tanya, would you like to tell people where they can find out more information about you?
I'm on social media at Ms. Tanya Todd. My website is www.miztanyatodd.com. And then you can also find my new podcast on my website and on YouTube, the 52 Love Podcast.
This is terrific. I just love it when she says it. And now she has a podcast. This is so amazing. So it's time for me to wrap us up. Oh, I said us because
Can I go?
Jay. So you can find out everything you ladies are up to at www.andwethought.com. While you are there on the homepage, you can go down to the nice little blue box that says the Ladies Tale Podcast, and you can listen to professional actors read my TV script. I'm so excited about this. Tanya made this a dream that came true for me, by the way. And also, while you're there, more importantly, go to the Ladies tab. Go down to the middle of the page and see the 3 charities that we proudly support. We know that times are hard, so you may not be able to give money, but you can give information or those leftover clothes that you did from cleaning out when, back in March. You can give them those. If you can't give them that, you can just send them a little note to tell them that they're doing a wonderful work in the world, and I'm sure they will appreciate that. So remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Walona and the Missing Jade. Bye-bye.
Thank you.